Jesse Garcia is the CEO of Maverick Real Estate Team, a Keller Williams affiliate in Roseville, California. Jesse, welcome to the podcast.
Jeff, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate your time. Before I get started, what was Inman like?
Inman is in San Diego, so you can't never complain about being in San Diego.
Right.
It was an amazing event. It was an amazing event. A lot of great, connections are what make those conferences just magical. But a lot of the speakers, the topics, very industry relevant right now, given what's going on.
Yeah, that's probably, we didn't have a chance to talk about the topics that that were brought up at Inman this year. I wasn't there, sadly. Hopefully I'll get there another time, but that's probably a podcast episode on its own, just talking about some of the topics there. But what was your biggest takeaway from Inman Connect in San Diego this year?
I would say my biggest takeaway is two things. One, there's a lot of very innovative technology that is coming out into the industry that's really going to help a lot of the real estate agents, teams, and brokerages. And I would say the second biggest thing that I got out of it was everyone's speaking the same language right now, that we're all in the same boat, right? We're going forward. The market is not as easy as it was the past 4 years. I shouldn't say as easy, as simple as it was the last 4 years. And it's definitely more of a challenging market. And all of us collaboratively are trying to figure out, okay, how do we move this ship forward? And how do we continue to make the focal point of everything we're doing the client?
Yeah, absolutely. Both very relevant topics right now in 2025. And yeah, the market, between 2020 and 2024 had its own set of challenges, but they're completely different from the challenges that of returning to a more, finger quote, normal market in a way. And although there are some areas of the country that are having their own sets of very unique and difficult challenges compared to other markets as well. Well, good job answering that. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you that question before I hit record, so I appreciate that. You did a great job.
No, all good.
Jesse, I always like to get a little bit of a background on the guest before we dive into the topics for this episode. So could you share a little bit about yourself, your background, where you came from before you entered the real estate industry, and what drew you to real estate?
I like to say I got into real estate by accident. I was in law enforcement prior to getting into real estate, and I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I'm sure many of your listeners are aware of. And I'm like, ooh, I like real estate. This sounds very intriguing. And so I actually enrolled in the local junior college in real estate courses because I wanted to learn more about real estate, economics, the financials, and just the basis of buying and selling real estate. And so I just enrolled in 2 classes. And my teacher's like, dude, why don't you get your license? Just become a realtor. I'm like, because I don't want to become a realtor. And he goes, well, you're already taking 2 of the 3 classes you need. Just go online, take the third one, go take your test. I'm like, okay, whatever. And so I took the 3rd class and I went to take the state test and I passed it my first time around. And I'm like, okay, well, now what? I did that. Now what? And so I partnered with Keller Williams in 2006 while I was still working in law enforcement. And then I'd probably say my first deal was a referral. My mom gave me a referral for an out-of-state referral. I made the phone call, connected the client to the agent in a different state. And like 2 months later, I get this check in the mail. And it was funny, I tell this story a lot, is I went to take that, I picked up the check from my brokerage on the way to work. And the same day I got paid for 80 hours worth of work with the county. And I sat there comparing him going, something's not right here. and this was just for a referral. What would happen if I started actually selling real estate? So I started doing that in between my days off. And I was like, wow, I could really start to do this. And my wife is a hairstylist. She did, I think, one of the top agents in the city hair. And she goes, my husband's looking at getting into real estate. So she had lunch with me. She took the time, had lunch with me. And she told me advice that I'll never forget. And I always share it. and hopefully this is okay for your audience. She goes, "You can't half-ass two careers. Pick one."
Absolutely.
And so I went home that night, talked to my wife, and I made the decision to walk away from a very steady paycheck, career with benefits, retirement, all of that, to dive into real estate. And I put in my 30-day notice July of 2008. My last day was July 30th, 2008. And we all know what happened to the real estate market at that time. And I literally, I didn't know any different. I started learning foreclosures, REOs, short sales, all of that. I didn't know better. And several of my mentors early on told me, if you can make it in this market, you can make it in any market. And then my career just started to snowball from there in real estate.
I've actually had a couple of really, really highly successful brokers on this podcast, and who I know personally, both locally and other areas of the country, who got their start right about that same time. And it was basically sink or swim. And they began their career by learning foreclosures and short sales and all the things that you need to know how to do in a market like that. So that talk about, were you a little scared though when November rolled around of 2008? Were you worried?
I don't remember being worried. I remember that one of the reasons that I was drawn to real estate was working for the county. Somebody next to me could be doing a worse job, doing less work, getting paid the same amount, if not more. That always irritated me. I was like, okay, I want to get into something where I don't care what the person next to me is doing. My income is directly related to my output. And I remember replacing my income my first year from real estate. And my wife was self-employed. I was self-employed. We didn't have, I burned the boats. And we didn't have children at this time. We did have a mortgage. Would I make the same decision now if we had children back then? I don't know. I'd probably be a little bit more careful. But it was definitely a sink or swim environment. I don't remember being afraid. I just remember actually it fueling me, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you're going to take a risk, that's the time to do it. I mean, you picked the right time to do it for sure. I love that advice that your early mentor gave you, and that was you can't half-ass two careers. You have to pick one. And I think that resonates with me, because I do see a lot of brokers, locally, that are trying to juggle two careers or two passions, and the finger quote side hustles. And I think it's a mistake. I think you need to pick one and go all in.
Well, and again, and you're aware of this, there's nothing wrong with doing side hustle, but you have to have a system or a business in place that can run without your 24/7, 365 oversight. Then you can go afford to do that. Right. So, I mean, you and I would both agree that there's nothing wrong essentially with that. But if this business is not doing well, your focus needs to be on this business until you can set a solid foundation that you can build upon.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were invited to Inman to speak on the topic of the business behind the team model. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, that's actually how you came on my radar, and I reached out immediately when I saw that, because I thought that resonated with me, and I felt like that was really a topic that I wanted to chat about on the podcast. We're going to get to that in just a minute, but I wanted to ask you. So I don't know much about the Sacramento area of California and Roseville. What is the what's the market like there currently, and what's Roseville's claim to fame?
Good questions. The market right here, right now, it's the way I've described it to other agents and clients. I said it's almost like an old Western where you have the buyers and the sellers going out at high noon to the middle of the street, and it's who's drawn first. And it's very much that market where we'll see homes with the average price point of 600, 650,000, 700,000 sit forever, and we'll see homes that are above $1 million going in 3-4 days. We don't really understand that. The numbers are all over the place, county by county, even city by city around here. Roseville is I moved up here about 12 years ago from the southern part of Sacramento, from Elk Grove, where I grew up and went to high school. And Roseville is just it's in Placer County, so it's not in Sacramento County. So there's definitely a bit of a difference going from Sacramento County to Placer County. And when I first moved up here, it was very kind of spread out. We weren't right on top of each other. Now with COVID, everyone from the Bay Area decided to move up to Roseville, it feels like. And so it's definitely very much impacted and a lot more busier. A lot more busy. Is that proper English? A lot busier? I think so. And, you know, I mean, honestly, I don't even know what Roseville's claim to fame would be, other than it being probably one of the top cities in all of California to raise a family.
That's a legitimate claim to fame right there, especially when it comes to real estate, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Also, we don't worry about grammar on this podcast.
Okay, good.
If I worried about that, I would never publish anything myself. So, all right. All right, cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, it's funny you mentioned that you see this unusual dynamic of single family homes in the $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 range that might be taking an unusually long time to move, and the luxury listings can go very quickly. And we're seeing something very similar here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, and specifically the Lake Norman region where I operate mostly. And it's unusual. You usually don't see, the luxury brokers are staying super busy and are crushing it. The luxury homes seem to be selling very quickly if it's relatively updated and priced right. But the days on market for the homes in that that $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 has creeped up tremendously, and it's normal. I mean, the 60 or 70, the 40, 50, 60, 70 day on the market time frame is still really relatively short, historically speaking. But for that to be to contrast that to the luxury listings that are moving in just 3 or 4 days is really it's been kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's tracking exactly what you're saying, because I was looking at stats the other day, and days on market on average for the average price point is 30, 45 days. And some of the luxury homes that are $1 million, $1.5 million plus, some of them are less than 10 days. Some of them are less than 14 days. And we're like, okay, this is very, very interesting. And again, it could be, at least in our area, a migration from the Bay Area, right? Silicon Valley, San Francisco, and them, a lot of those buyers going, wow, $1.5 million can get us this in the Sacramento, Roseville area versus what it can get us in the Bay Area. So that's a never-ending cycle. Yeah,
that would make sense too. And obviously, Roseville has that appeal of a great place to raise a family, and $1.5 million buys a lot more there than it does in San Jose. It's the same here in North Carolina. We have a lot of folks who come from the Northeast and even California and South Florida, and they'll relocate, and they find that their purchasing power here in the Carolinas is a lot greater than it was in the Northeast, in New York and Connecticut. So I see a lot of that here as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what you had mentioned, or what you were invited to do at Inman, and that was talk about the business of the team model. And I wanted to ask you, to share. I assume you're an advocate for the team model, and you can speak on it because you operate a team model in your business. And I just wanted to kind of share for listeners what you feel are some of the advantages of the team approach to real estate.
Ooh, how much time we have?
As much time as you want.
No, it's a great question. I am a big advocate of the team model, and I think that I really believe that teams that are set up, scaled properly, are going to be, they're already the dominant forces in real estate. The 80-20 rule, 90-10 rule, I'd venture to say that more than 70% of all real estate transactions right now are being done in collaboration with a real estate team, partnered with a brokerage. And, I think that brokerages, for the most part, now there's certain, this is a very broad statement, but there's many brokerages out there. Brokerages, for the most part, are designed for every type of agent, right? Painted with a broad brush, from new agents to experienced agents to top producers to everyone in the middle. And they're set up that way. They're set up to support brand new agents up to experienced agents. Again, broad brush. Now teams, they can grow, and I think they can pivot and scale and grow a lot faster than an individual brokerage because they have the ability to make faster decisions. They can adopt things quicker. They can implement new technology. Sometimes they use the brokerage's technology. A lot of times they don't use the brokerage's technology. They're going to go find what works for them, for their system, for their process. And so they have the ability to go and not only recruit to a brokerage, but also they have the ability to attract top performing talent to their team because of their value proposition. They're not recruiting strictly to a brokerage's value proposition. They're going based off the brokerage's value proposition and the team's value proposition, right? And every team can be different, right? Different splits, different technology, different support, different everything. And it could be different mentoring. And some agents might join a team for a particular reason, where the brokerage, in its simplest form, and means no disrespect to any brokerage, is they're there to make sure that you're legally compliant and that your license is hung somewhere so you can go practice real estate. Now, the brokerages can go and invest in technology and all these different things to support their agents. A team could be a little bit more nimble to go, hey, this is what we need. We need to move on this now. Or we want to go build this like a business within a business that is now protecting us legally and making sure that we're insured. We have E&O, but we can go and build this without having to be a brokerage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. The team model is I see the team model applied or implemented quite a bit in the Keller Williams universe. Is that something that is kind of has been advocated by Keller Williams, or is it just my imagination?
I think that, me being with KW for as long as I have, I think that I learned about building a team through KW. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily know if it was something that was taught. I think it was something where I'm like, oh, hey, what are they doing? What are they doing down the hall? They look pretty successful. I want to learn how to do that. And I kind of just started copying other people that were doing it at a high level. And, but other teams and other friends of mine that are parts of many different brokerages have a team. I know teams that friends of mine that are with EXP, Real, Compass, LPT, all the different brands that are running a real estate team.
One of the topics that I told you I was going to, or that I sent you, that I always like to bring up in these conversations, and that is advice for newer real estate agents, those who are early in their career, just starting their journey. And the reason I bring it up now is because I feel like one piece of good advice would be to, rather than for a newer agent to strike out on their own, it might make a lot more sense to join a team or find a team that you'd be a good fit for. Is that advice you'd have for a new agent?
That's the advice I would 100% give a new agent, is join a team and interview several teams, because it's not going to be simply about who's giving you leads or has the best split, but they have to align with what you believe in. They have to align in what your goals are. That you have to believe that they can do it. Now, one thing that I've always looked at, not always, this is a learning lesson for me, is there are people that are achieving the goals that I want to achieve, but not in the manner that I would want to achieve them in. And then there's people that are achieving the goals I want to achieve, that are achieving them in the ways that I feel that I align with. And so by interviewing and talking to people and really doing your due diligence on the teams that you want to partner with, you can learn that, right? Don't make it a quick decision, But, dive into it and find out, okay, they're not just going to provide me leads and teach me how to sell real estate. Are they going to help me with my long-term goals, whether that's build a better life, invest in real estate, increase, build generational wealth, learn how to do that. So there's multiple facets to joining and partnering with the team that I would say a new agent needs to learn and understand, that you have to dig a little deeper in which is the right team to join.
That's a really good point. I like how you illustrated that something I hadn't thought much about, but it makes total sense, is that, it's not just looking up to and seeking out the mentorship of someone who's achieved the goals that you want to achieve, but you want to partner with someone who's doing it the way that aligns with your values in such a way that you would be comfortable with, and also in such a way that maximizes or capitalizes on your strengths as well, because there's a lot of different ways to reach success, a lot of different ethical and legal, of course, ways to do it, but there are a lot of different styles as well. What other advice would you have for a new agent?
For a new agent, I would say read and understand, as boring as they are, the contracts. Take contracts classes from your brokerage, from your association, whatever it may be. And I say that because a few years ago, I did a deal with another agent who was only in the business for probably less than a year, 2 years maybe, had closed a handful of deals. And we were negotiating back and forth, and they sent a counter back without checking the box on the purchase agreement that there was a counter attached. So they essentially accepted the offer. And then so once we said, great, thank you for accepting our offer. Like, no, there was a counter. Like, there was no box checked, and it cost them and the client, a good amount of money. One, because he was not a very nice person about it even prior to that. So another advice I would say is, real estate is a very, very small world, and you can burn bridges very quickly. So you always want to treat everybody with as much respect as you can, and with the respect that you want to receive, because there may be somebody on the other end of the deal that, hey, if you messed up, they may go, hey, Jeff, you've been super awesome on this whole transaction. Hey, by the way, you missed this box, or, this was done wrong. You might want to go back to your client and get this done. Obviously with everything above board, but that's how you build relationships and you build trust. So on the next time, I get a deal or you get a deal from, Jesse, you're going to go, oh, I know Jesse. I worked with Jesse before. We can count that this deal is going to happen. So your reputation matters, and you can destroy it very quickly in real estate. But I would say understand the contracts, because missing one box can cost you and your client a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. The fundamentals, right? I mean, don't forget the fundamentals. It reminds me of something a sales manager I had years ago used to say in Saturday morning sales meetings all the time, and that was, don't forget to block and tackle. just block and tackle. Right?
Yeah, this is a football. This is a football, right? And the other thing I would say is, be human.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is a human to human interaction. This is you're helping someone with one of the largest investments of their lives, and it's a cliche, you've heard that many times, but be a human. Don't be a robot. Don't be all about the sales and all about the commission. Just be human.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I also agree that it's really important to not only safeguard your reputation, but also to network with other local real estate brokers, real estate agents, and just, I think that, by forming friendships before you're on opposing sides can be pretty beneficial when it comes time to getting a deal done.
One thing I did early on in my career, which the office manager recommended I do it, was teach. And the best way to learn is to teach.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what I did early on, and this is going to date me, was when DocuSign started to become a big thing. I would teach our entire market center in our office how to use DocuSign, how to take advantage of the technology, how to use it to your benefit and your client's benefit. And I was learning it, and the best way for me to learn it was to teach it. So anything I wanted to learn at a high level, I taught.
That's great advice too. Yeah, and that makes total sense. You really, in order to teach it, you really have to have an understanding of the content, right, and the topic. I love that. I think that's a good exercise, I think, for realtors to kind of go through, whether it's teaching contracts or teaching social media or teaching, that's teaching how to stage and host an open house.
Yeah.
Those would be great exercises.
And being in the business for 20 years, I still practice that. I'm in a phenomenal position where I actually, my team and myself have partnered with a company called Place, and Ben Kinney, Chris Suarez, who are industry titans in real estate for the past 2+ decades. Whatever they teach, I'm like, okay, this is what I really want to learn. So I go and I try to teach on it. So a lot of what I did when I spoke at Inman were things that Ben, Chris, and that entire leadership team continue to teach and to invest in all of us. So I try to go and teach that to other people so that way I can ingest it, I can learn it better.
Absolutely. I love that. I noticed their logo on your website. I don't know much about their organization or their business. What is it that how do they bring value to your business? I mean, I know that's a really broad question, but what is their core line of business?
Again, how much time we have?
Right.
I mean, Place is it's a business services platform for teams, mm-hmm. right? It's almost an operational system for real estate teams, top real estate teams. And going back to the brokerage model, depending on whether they can or can't, many brokerages can't really support a top 1% team at the level that they need support in to grow and scale. And so what Place has done is it's not a brokerage. It has gone out and partnered with a lot of the top 2% teams across the country, regardless of the brokerage, and helped them with things like recruiting talented operational and sales agents, helping retain them by things that many brokerages and teams can't afford to do on their own, like health insurance, revenue share, stock options are going to be going public in the next few years. They help with a lot of the behind the scenes business needs like bookkeeping, legal, HR, accounting, digital advertising, technology. And they really help you maximize profit, but they also teach you and coach you in how to scale your business. So that way, as I talked about in Inman, can start to step away from relying so much on your personal production as a team owner. And you can truly start to step into a leadership CEO role and run a business, not have your business kind of run you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It reminds me of the E-Myth, Michael Gerber's, and
great book.
The technician's dilemma, right? The technician starts a business and never has a chance to be the business owner or the CEO, always has to be the technician. So I'm sure I just butchered the entire theme of that book, but anyway, you get the gist.
I got the gist. It's just, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, how long have you been partnered with them?
A little over 3 years.
Has that been kind of a game changer for you?
It's been a game changer on many levels because I'm surrounded by so many people that just think big and bigger, and they challenge you to think bigger. They challenge you to go, great, okay, how do we get there now? Here's where you're at. Here's where you want to be. What's the gap? How do we close the gap? What systems or processes do we need to put in place? And then on top of that, it's, okay, well, how do you increase revenue streams? Right? You have talented people on your team. How do you not lose them out of the back door because they get, distracted by another shiny object of another team or another brokerage or whatever it may be? How do you keep talented people? And you do that by providing and creating opportunity for them instead of them relying solely on just commission income. How do you show them how to build multiple revenue streams? And me personally, I've never heard anybody leave a team because they're like, Jeff, man, thank you for allowing me to be on your team. I'm making too much money. It's time for me to go.
That's interesting. I'd love to follow up with you sometime and learn a little bit more about Place and some of the models that they've helped you build in your business. but it sounds like, that's the dilemma that so many agents have and team leaders have, and is that and entrepreneurs in general have, is being able to kind of remove themselves from the day-to-day process, or the process of delivering and servicing, and to be able to spend more time doing the CEO tasks and growing the business and working on the business, and not so much in it.
Well, and that's what I covered last week in San Diego, was as a team owner and the team leader, the rainmaker, you're focused on personal production for the most part, because that's the majority of your revenue. That's what's paying most of the bills. Now you're not focused on recruiting or attracting talent to your business. Then when you recruit and attract talent to your business, now you got to train them and mentor them and coach them. Now your focus is off of recruiting and personal production. So there's all these things going on that's grabbing at your attention. And unless you have a proper foundation and systems and processes in place to help support you in that, it's you're going to experience burnout really, really quickly. And I think that's what a lot of teams are experiencing right now, is burnout. Where I've talked to several team owners and they're like, I'm just going to, blow up my team and just go back to selling real estate. Okay, well then what's your exit strategy? Do you want to sell real estate to your 90? Nothing against that. If that's what you want to do, great. But what's your exit strategy? How do you build an acquirable business that continues to appreciate in value by increasing revenue and profit? And that's one thing that I've learned a lot of over the last 3 years, was how to build that type of business.
Systems and processes, block and tackle. That's what, every time I hear that, that's so key. I mean, I continue to struggle with systems and processes in my own business and my own couple of different endeavors. And I'm always working daily on refining it and simplifying the business plan and the business model. And so that really resonates with me. So I love that. I love to hear you mention and emphasize systems and processes.
Well, nobody's perfect, right, Jeff? Like, no business is perfect, but you have to always analyze, diagnose, and prescribe something that's going to fix it, right? So it's that never-ending cycle of, okay, my business is never just good and I can, okay, whatever. There's always an evaluation process that's going on where, okay, how do we fine tune this? How do we increase profit? How do we decrease expenses? How do we close the gap on that? How do we make that faster? How do we make this more efficient? Those are things that any business owner is going to start to look at. But then when you start attracting talented people to your world that can start to help you do that, a lot of that falls off your plate while you still oversee it and you're still in charge of it, but less of the headache is completely directly on your chest.
Absolutely. Jesse, I told you I was only going to keep you for 30 minutes, so we've gone a little bit over. Before I let you go, I want to ask you, can we chat real quick about marketing? Are you, where are you finding the most value, generally speaking? We don't need to get down to a granular tactical level, but just overall, what are your most, what channels, marketing and advertising channels do you and your team focus on mainly?
I'd say I'm proud to say that still 20 years later, my real estate business is still 90+% referral, past clients, family, friends sphere. Mm-hmm. We make sure that we maintain those relationships and, you engage with them as much as possible. Phone call, text message. Instead of just simply liking something on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, you comment, right? You shoot them a text message. Oh, congratulations on that job. Give them a call. Hey, congratulations. I saw you got promoted, or your kid's off to college. That's got to be so exciting. Congratulations. Or, I learned this from another friend of mine. He's like, man, I saw somebody in my Facebook who's a friend of mine. They were homesick and they weren't feeling good. I DoorDashed them some soup to their door. And I'm like, you know how not expensive that is to do that, but it's going to make such a dramatic impact on that person that's going to be like, okay, this is what Jesse did when I was sick, when nobody else did that.
Yeah.
And, there's little things like that. So for me, I don't truly think you need a massive marketing budget to make a massive impact. I think you need to be creative and, again, be a human.
Be a human. Yeah, no doubt. That's, the DoorDashing soup to a client who's under the weather, that's amazing. Like, that's something that, not only is that great client relationship management, but I feel like that's also something that really came from the heart too. So like it's the kind of thing that you can't fake. I think that's really, really cool. I used to have a service business for about 10 years, and I actually closed it because of the fact that I couldn't scale it. I couldn't remove myself from the process. The business model was flawed. I didn't know what I didn't know, until I was 10 years into it and doing well, except that I had to do it every day. But the reason I bring that up is that I learned there that it's a lot easier. I should say it's a lot simpler and a lot less expensive to retain business than it is to go out and get new business. Yeah, that resonates with me. Maintaining those relationships with your previous clients and referrals and your sphere, and yeah, that makes total sense. So I love that.
100%. Like, and again, like there's people that spend thousands of dollars on whatever it may be for internet, for online, for ads, pay-per-click, whatever. And if it's working, fine. The only thing I would say to that is hold every dollar accountable and figure out if you are getting an ROI. Period. Yeah. If it's working, don't pull the plug on it if you're getting an ROI. If you're spending $1 and making $2, great, it's working. Depending upon how much time it's taking. Now, if you took $5,000 and invested that into an online advertising agency, could you maybe get more of a bang for your buck if you had a $5,000 budget where you sent people DoorDash if they weren't feeling good into your database? You probably get a higher ROI on that, but you got to track it.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that would be, again, positive, memorable experience for sure. Jesse, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you taking time to join me for this podcast. It's been an honor to have you on. It's great to connect. I look forward to following up with you as well.
Jeff, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast. It's been great chatting with you, and look forward to doing this again.
Definitely. How can listeners learn more about you and connect with you and the team?
Oh man, yeah. So Jesse J Garcia on Instagram. No I in Jesse, common mistake. And on LinkedIn, I think my LinkedIn is the same, Jesse J Garcia or Jesse Garcia. But LinkedIn and Instagram are the two that I'm most active at.
Perfect. I'll have both links in the show notes for this episode, and I'll tag you, of course, on Instagram when I release it. Jesse, thanks again so much. Really appreciate it.
Likewise, sir. Thank you.